The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists Martin from General Bytes, Josh Gagala from Voltoro,
Good gracious me, another week is by.
and I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one, PayPal finally accepts Bitcoin. We've talked about it on this show since almost the beginning of this show, more than 6-7 years ago now. But PayPal is finally accepting Bitcoin. When we first talked about PayPal accepting Bitcoin, we thought they might buy Cryptsy or another such Bitcoin and altcoin exchange. It turns out that Cryptsy is long gone, the money's missing, and PayPal is doing it on their own, perhaps partnering with BitGo or Paxos. PayPal has a catch, though. They won't let you take the cryptocurrency off of the exchange. Is PayPal a big deal for Bitcoin? Martin.
I think so too. For the price of Bitcoin, it will be a big deal. I'm not too convinced that it will be good for Bitcoin. As you said, they will not let you take out any crypto. The article you mentioned was the article in Forbes, right? Yeah, that was Forbes. And I couldn't find the article on Reuters also mentioned that people will be able to use the crypto at point of sale terminals. But knowing PayPal and knowing their history, it will probably they'll probably block point of sale wallets, and they'll probably keep blocking accounts without any reason, and then you have no access to your Bitcoins. Good for the price of Bitcoin, but no, not good for Bitcoin because, not your private keys, not your coins.
I agree, Martin. And it's likely with that point of sale, they would let you use your PayPal to debit your Bitcoin account. So if you put some Bitcoin on there, you could probably spend it as PayPal. Josh Gagala, your thoughts on PayPal?
Yeah, this is an extraordinary move. I think it's a baby step in the right direction, even though you can't withdraw it to your wallet. I mean, I've read other reports that say you can, but we'll see. Nevertheless, it's a baby step. And even if, I mean, if they allow you to spend it at every PayPal merchant, then it means that they have to have real Bitcoin. Because you can't take it off, what will be interesting there is obviously they will have a massive OTC rebalancing thing going on in the background. None of these coins will hit on-chain because if someone spends it, it'll just go to someone who wants to buy it at that moment, and it'll do a whole lot of stuff. So a lot of people were speculating that it'll be good for Bitcoin Cash or Litecoin at the moment because their blocks are still fairly empty. But it seems to me that it doesn't really matter when it's not going to move out of PayPal's database anyway. All these transactions are going to be settled using their ecosystem, their database, and it'll never really go on chain until they allow you to withdraw. And by that stage, I'm hoping that the Lightning Network will be more mass and mainstream adopted. But yeah, big news. I can't say it enough. I think it's probably as much as I don't like these huge conglomerates coming in and saying, "Oh, now Bitcoin," because I feel it's sort of it just doesn't matter in the long scheme of things. But in terms of PayPal is very unique in that it is one of the largest in the Western world, one of the largest payment networks. In terms of terminals, online terminals, and they're also pushing out into the offline world as well. So really interesting move. Finally, it is exactly actually what PayPal wanted to do in the beginning. The technology wasn't there to have a rare digital asset, wasn't available to them. So they're kind of going back to their roots, and it'll be interesting to see what happens when it comes to dispute resolution. Reversing transactions will probably still be the case if you're not allowed to take the Bitcoin off. They'll just reverse their database entry. So There's all sorts of really interesting things to watch in this space because of this.
Well, first, I want to join the celebratory side. We've been waiting for PayPal to take Bitcoin for so long. I think it's going to change everything. I think it could really push the price of Bitcoin over $1,000 a coin. So I want everybody to watch for that. That could happen at any time, right? Second of all, I agree with Josh. It's going to end kind of this theory of Bitcoin being a one-way currency, because with PayPal, just like everything else with PayPal, it can be frozen and reversed. You can always trust PayPal to freeze your account when you've done nothing wrong. They're just trying to take your money. So now they're trying to take your Bitcoin. It's even more exciting for PayPal. There's more on the line. While temporarily, I do think it's going to be only controlled Bitcoin, much like the Cash App. After PayPal's gotten used to it, I think they will let you transfer in and out Bitcoin, and they'll have a whole nother press release about it and another story, and everyone will retweet it and we'll all get excited again. But we all know it's just a roadmap for software developers to get there. I think they're a little worried right now about maybe somebody rolling in with $7 million of dirty Bitcoin and wanting $7 million of clean money, and that could be a problem for PayPal, things like that. But once they've worked that out, I think they'll continue to adopt this and eventually realize that they're helping their biggest competitor, Bitcoin, and their second biggest competitor, Lightning Network. So thanks, PayPal. We look forward to eating your lunch soon. Moving on to the exit question. Which will last longer, PayPal or Bitcoin? Go to Martin.
Bitcoin, that's like without doubt. I'm not too sure about PayPal allowing withdrawals. We've Revolut I believe they're from the UK. They've been offering debit cards for years. You can fill up your debit card with a bank transfer, and you can also purchase Bitcoin. But up until there's no withdrawal feature, there's no private keys. There's not even proof that your Bitcoins really exist. So knowing PayPal, this will probably not happen. But it's good for the Bitcoin price. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I kind of feel like they have to have real Bitcoin in there, because if they don't and people start actually spending it and using it, they'll have these credits, and if Bitcoin price shoots through the moon, they'll be owing more and more money. So it's easier for them to actually have real Bitcoin than to deal with the risk, because the last thing a business wants to do is open themselves up to the volatility madness that Bitcoin is. In terms of it, they would just be ruining their fiduciary duty. It's too late for that word. Bitcoin will be. That's my answer. Will be.
I agree with Josh that they better hold on to that Bitcoin. They better have the right number of Bitcoin that they're selling. Otherwise, it could end very badly for PayPal. So it'd be exciting for them to try that. I'd like to see them twisting their mustache behind the scenes, getting ready to take everyone's money. But we'll see how that goes. Moving on to issue 2, Bitcoin price surges to 13,200. I told you so. Hits record high in Brazil, Argentina, and Turkey. The price of Bitcoin is up again, perhaps because of the PayPal announcement. Something like PayPal sending out a press release to everyone could cause the price of Bitcoin to rise. Or it could be the people who knew about the PayPal announcement buying Bitcoin in advance and then being there just at the right time to sell. Josh Skagala, why is the price of Bitcoin higher this week?
PayPal. I mean, it's just news it's going to keep going higher and higher and higher, because the news cycle will get totally hyped up. The only thing that can stop it is the American election, in terms of taking up headline space. But yeah, I mean, it's such big news, and then people will start to talk about it like we are, and it just drives itself.
I disagree with Josh. I think the price of Bitcoin's up because of the stock to flow model. He added a new little red dot, and each one of those red dots, the price perfectly follows that model. No, I mean, I think it could be the halvening. A long time ago, the amount of Bitcoin being produced was cut in half, leading to a reduction of supply on the Bitcoin market. You don't have to have a fancy chart to know that. But yeah, it's probably the PayPal news too. Martin, your thoughts?
The article was saying like countries like Turkey, Argentina, Brazil. Those are countries where it's really difficult to cash out. With Bitcoin, normally without Bitcoin, the people wouldn't be able to get their cash out, and they're trapped by the inflation in those countries. So now they have an option. They've got Bitcoin. So I think this is just people scrambling to get as much money into Bitcoin as possible, because the local currency is going down the drain, which highlights, basically, if it's not Bitcoin doing great, it's the local currency failing, and every rogue state in that respect will experience this same thing. Bitcoin will eat their local currency. Eventually it will happen to the euro and the dollar too. So, I don't know. It always worries me if I see those articles. I feel sorry for the people living there. They're screwed.
At least they have a chance to hodl.
Yeah. Plan B.
Josh,
do you have many
Josh.
ATMs there in South America?
We sold a couple of them, and what we found, for example, with Turkey, it's extremely difficult to import them. It's like, the rogue state doesn't just end with their monetary policy; it's also already at the Zollamt or customs. So it's yes, there when we find ways to distribute and like to sell there, but sometimes we find that we just sell them to somewhere just over the border. And then they transport it in, via their own truck or their own transport, and basically, hide it and just get it into the country, because it's the governments. They know that they don't want that there. So
we have the same problem with shipping gold to Turkey.
Yeah, I can imagine. Have you tried India, shipping gold to India?
Actually, what we do is we transfer. We sell the gold locally at the wider gold markets, the London bullion markets, and then convert it to Bitcoin. Send the Bitcoin over to a local dealer over there, where they locally ship it from internal. We did that also with the US.
Okay.
So that was good. Yeah.
It's interesting with Bitcoin. We often talk about it bringing monetary freedom, but it's often bringing monetary freedom in the future. When everyone was really excited about the Cyprus event in 2013, it wasn't so much that the Cyprus people had access to the Bitcoin. It was more of the idea, what if they did? And then this time we keep getting closer and closer to the right country at the right time, having the right access, suddenly flipping to Bitcoin. We're just not there yet. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I agree. Like if you look at something like Venezuela, which was the poster child of terrible economic state, and Bitcoin would come in and save the day. It didn't happen. And then you had like communities like Dash really putting a lot of the block reward through their DAO into educating people over there. But and you get these articles like, it's so popular, but really it isn't, because you need to get it popular before an economic collapse. Once you've had an economic collapse, people have already lost all of their value.
It's foresight and hindsight. It's almost impossible to get it right. But eventually it just might line up like lightning, like it'll just strike in one place. So
yeah.
Moving on to the exit question, the price of Bitcoin this time next week. Josh Kagala, higher or lower?
Higher. I'm looking at around about 15K.
Martin.
I think it will be lower. It's always doing this Bart Simpson model, so it will probably drop first and then higher again.
I think Martin's got it. I always try to pick higher, and I'm always wrong, but it usually goes lower, and then it goes higher. So you just got to wait, which is almost impossible. Did you know the World Crypto Network has its own store at worldcryptonetwork.store? You can get World Crypto Network mugs, t-shirts like Treasures Don't Float, Bitcoin Not Bombs, and the original World Crypto Network, the shirt, at worldcryptonetwork.store. Be sure to give us a thumbs up and a share down below. Moving on to issue 3. Issue 3, 100 years. Michael Saylor, new Bitcoiner and suddenly Bitcoin evangelist, claims that his company MicroStrategy, which has invested somewhere around $425 million in Bitcoin, will hold the Bitcoin for 100 years, describing it as the world's best collateral. Just years ago, they were describing Bitcoin as rat poison and the worst investment possible. Now, suddenly, they're holding it for 100 years. How did we come so far, so fast? And are they right? Martin.
I think this is fantastic news. I never heard about Michael Saylor or MicroStrategy before they went into Bitcoin, but it's such a humble name, MicroStrategy. If you're such a massive Bitcoin bull, I mean, every time this guy talks, the price goes up. So yes, I'm big fan, and I will keep my Bitcoins for 100 years too. I advise everybody just to keep hodling. Yes, absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
Obviously, your HODL strategy is too low. You want to keep them for 1,000 years. Then you'll be ready to spend. Don't buy anything now. Put it all off. But no, I agree with you, Martin. MicroStrategy sounds like such a small name. It's like when I was a kid and the biggest company in the world is Microsoft, and DOS and Windows is Microsoft. And now that's even so much bigger than it once was.
That's what Bill Gates' wife calls him.
Skipping ahead to the next topic already here, Josh. But Josh, what do you think about MicroStrategy and 100 years of hodling?
Hey, look, I've got a couple of friends that are like foresters, and they think multi-generational. They don't think it's amazing listening to them talk. I'll walk around the forestry that they've got, and they'll be like, "Oh, I've just planted this acreage here for my great grandchildren," and you just think, wow, this guy is really really thinking forward, and I think this is the same with Bitcoin. And if you are going to do that, folks, I think it's really important to look at inheritance and how to sign across keys through the unfortunate events of the life, which is death. And Pamela Morgan actually wrote an amazing book and thesis, and gave a bunch of talks about how to do proper crypto inheritance, and it's something that no one really wants to talk about. It's always horrible, especially in the Western world. We sort of ick away from it. Nah, I'm never going to die. I promise you, I will never die. And it's one of these things that's obviously ridiculous. So it's very important to look out for how you will inherit or how you will pass on your Vermögen, in German, or your wealth. Yeah.
That's interesting to think about things generationally, Josh. I know a story from the Roman Empire, how Carthage and Hannibal was marauding through the towns. And when he would come to town, they'd let the doors down, they'd raise Hannibal's flag, and they'd celebrate while he was there. And then when he left, they'd put the Roman flag back up, because they knew that Rome was forever. They were local. They stuck around. Hannibal was just passing through. So it's great that all the Bitcoiners have come out to welcome Michael Saylor and to bring him and the rest of his big bank money into our Bitcoin town. And everyone's saying, yay, bankers. And just when he leaves, everyone can pull the Bitcoin flags back up again, and we'll get back to what we were doing this whole time, with or without the bankers, with or without the big money and the traders and everybody else
and the
that's come
Miranding
along recently. Yeah, all this, like the Bitcoiners, the cypherpunks, they write code, they focus on the freedoms, the right ideas, and we're just going to continue marching forward. But it'll be interesting to see if he's still here in 100 years, if PayPal's still here, if MicroStrategy's still here. But going to the exit question, I think Bitcoin will be here. Martin, will Bitcoin be here in 100 years?
I think it will be, and it will be more institutionalized. Right now, we only talked about MicroStrategy and PayPal. We've got a list here of 23 institutional investors, and together they already own, if I calculate the stolen coins, or sorry, the lost coins, about 3.7 million. They already own more than 5% of all Bitcoin. So yes, it will be here in 100 years. And yes, most of those Bitcoins will be owned by large corporations.
Hey, maybe they already lost the private keys. They're like, we're gonna hold it for 100 years. Yeah.
No one can get in trouble at all. It's 100 years from now. Like all the lawyers will be dead. Everyone will be dead.
On the subject of inheritance, not too long ago, this Trezor has this Model T, the one with the touch screen.
Yeah.
It allows you to split up the keys and make a sort of end. So right now we would make 4 keys, and then with leave one at the notary. And if somebody would die, then we can still get the keys. But if 2 of us would die, then together with the data from the notary, we'll be able to regenerate the last one standing. We'll be able to regenerate those keys. If you want to make a digital will, and you don't want to make it too complicated, have a look at this Trezor Model T and this Shamir's recovery, split recovery thingy. I don't know what crazy name they gave it, but it's the best way, I think, right now to the will. So okay, that was a bit off
that's
topic,
a very good point.
It's
It does sound fantastic, Martin. I think Shamir's Secret Sharing, which I agree is a ridiculous name. It sounds like a magician and a carnival, and it doesn't sound very serious. But if it's a way to split up your key, that sounds like a cool thing. Josh Gagala, Bitcoin in 100 years.
What's the Oh yeah,
Will it be here? Like, will it be money? What will it be? Tell us a little about it.
Geez, I think it'll be the base of a lot of things, and I the thing about Bitcoin is that maybe there's another coin that comes along and it's just does things better somehow. It's got smart contracts and all this jazz, and maybe the market decides that's better. But there is only one coin that has one thing that can only be done by Bitcoin. It can never be done by any other coin. And that's being the first and having that collector's value of being the first. So if you've got the first cryptocurrency, the first digital rare asset that was ever invented by Satoshi Nakamoto, that will have value. Maybe and to this whole nonsense with quantum computing and such, that'll all get sorted out. I don't think there's that much. People like Peter Todd aren't really too worried, and so that gives me hope. I think it'll be around. I think it'll do a lot more, and it'll have that collector's value, if anything.
Well, if Peter Todd's not worried, I'm not worried. I agree with Josh and Martin. I think Bitcoin will be around in 100 years. I think it'll be ancient code, and I think that it'll be very unlikely that very much of it moves. If we did an average Bitcoin transaction now moved $100 or something, I think people in the future would lose their minds. There'd be newspaper articles for weeks and weeks. Someone moved, this much Bitcoin on the network. But I think it'll be ancient code, which is saying something in a world where Windows XP is open sourced. But it'll be ancient code, much like William Gibson when he's describing the AI in his books, or Neil Stephenson in the new Fall book that everyone should read. Fall. It's really good. But when they go back and they start to edit the code of the original avatars, it's like Indiana Jones. They're opening up the old book with all the dust and they're blowing it off. They're going to edit the Bitcoin code. So it'll be pretty exciting if it lives 100 years. I'd like to see it. So I'll hang around and see it 100 years from now. That sounds like a good plan. Moving on to issue 4. It's official. Bitcoin is now more popular than sex. John Lennon once said that the Beatles were more popular than Jesus. Bitcoin is bigger than them both. Our Bitcoin has grown to be bigger than sex, bigger than the Beatles, and bigger than Jesus. Have we made it? Is Bitcoin here? Is this the promised land? Josh Gagala, Bitcoin grows up. Is it all grown up?
It's definitely growing up. Bigger than sex. I'm not surprised. The younger generations, from everything that I'm reading, they're just so obsessed with their phone that they're not actually seeing other humans, and they find it icky to touch each other. because they're just used to nice clean phone screens, and there's a I don't know, there's something going on with the world where people, and then you've got COVID, which is, don't get too close to anyone, don't socially distance. So I think we're going to have generations of people scared of each other. So yeah, send Bitcoin to each other.
It's going to be a lot like Demolition Man. Actual physical contact? Gross. Martin, your thoughts on Bitcoin bigger than sex?
Well, the article it basically used the number. It used the number of. My connection is poor. Sorry about that. But it used the number of Reddit connections or Reddit subscribers to a certain subreddit, and maybe Bitcoin is more popular on Reddit than sex, but I think most people who are looking for sex are not going to Reddit because they're going to Pornhub and stuff. So I'm not sure if the data they used is really accurate for such a comparison, but
True.
it was a bit of a clickbait article in my opinion.
Now you're just talking technicalities. Come on, everyone knows Reddit is the entire world. You're saying that there's a world outside of Reddit? Don't let Reddit hear you say that. Don't let them hear you say that.
For sex, there is. For me, Bitcoin is bigger than that. Anything at all, basically. But I think Reddit subscribers. Oh, okay. For the Bitcoin Cash, I believe. Then it said it had only 300,000 subscribers on there, but maybe this was the big renaissance for Roger Ver or something. It went on. It was on Cointelegraph, so it's I see it more as entertainment. It's good fun reading, but I'm not sure. Bitcoin bigger than sex? Yeah, for me.
At least Martin.
Not sure about.
Well, we'll have to see. Exit question. Bitcoin's now bigger than sex, bigger than Jesus, bigger than the Beatles. Josh Gagala, what can Bitcoin do next? Start a political party, take over a country, become a reserve currency, go to the moon? What can it do?
It'll be bigger than the moon. It'll be Mars. I think the next big step for Bitcoin is to become the national currency for some country, for some small independent country, and then go from there as people start getting ridiculously wealthy in that country.
Martin, your thoughts. What can Bitcoin do next?
I think we'll see institutional adoption really go up. Right now, this 23 companies, which are public companies, the reason why there was only 23 on the list was because they are public companies and it's verifiable information that they actually bought those Bitcoins. And this is like almost 800,000 Bitcoins right now. So what we'll see is that more and more big companies are going to hedge against inflation and they're going to purchase Bitcoin. And that will drive the price up. And the PayPals and all, they will start selling the common man in the streets their Bitcoins. Eventually everybody will own a little bit of Bitcoin. It's like the savings account for the future. There's no money you can save at the bank. Actually, I get negative interest rates on my savings account. And I think that's like there's this legitimized stealing. So that's why people buy Bitcoin. So yes, Bitcoin has a future, but I see it more as a savings account or a hedge against inflation by large corporations.
The Dutch banks are way ahead of the curve there. They're working on new technologies. Other banks haven't even caught up. But I would agree. Yeah, negative interest.
But you still get interest in the US?
Very small
amounts.
Interest
on your bank account in the US?
Oh, of course. Everyone's
but they still give interest.
Yes.
It probably gets chewed up by the first little.
Yeah, probably paid off in tax.
I got a message from my savings bank that they are going to stop giving out accounts because they're a savings bank, but they haven't been paying interest for 2 years now. So what's the point of saving if you don't get any interest? So this is why the bank realized that, and now they asked us to all close our accounts.
It's like
And
South
they
Park
should
or
just like,
those really mean hackers. They're just teaching all you noobs a lesson, and it's gone, and it's gone.
and
Thanks for
poof.
playing, and it's gone, gone.
Yeah.
But
Only leave
when
as
I
much.
think,
Sorry.
when I think
Only leave
about
as much in the bank. Sorry,
yeah, don't leave
there's
too
a bit
much.
of a lag.
Yeah. But when I think about Bitcoin, and it's so big now, it's bigger than sex, bigger than Jesus, bigger than the Beatles, bigger than a lot of other things. When I think about what we should do next, I think about something big. Bitcoin should become a political party or a religion. Bitcoin should become a political party and a religion. Just like in Snow Crash, you could live there, you could work there, you could worship there. It would all come together in one wonderful Bitcoin wrapped package. The Bitcoin political party and religion and Citadel project. Contact me on Twitter at Mad Bitcoins. All
I'm
right,
pretty
we're
sure it
running out
already
of
is a
time.
religion.
See, we just need more organization so we can get that precious tax exempt status. Then all Bitcoiners and all traders will suddenly get incredibly religious. All they didn't know it about themselves, but suddenly when the tax exempt status was there, they were ready to join up. We'll have baptisms in the spa. We'll dunk you. All right, Josh, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week? We're running out of time. They're telling me
look,
in my ear.
the story of the week really is the sad news. I'm totally devoed, which is devastated in Australian, that Room 77 has shut down. This was the first bricks and mortar pub, bar, and amazing restaurant at the time to accept Bitcoin. The only other thing you could get with Bitcoin is some alpaca socks, and you could use it on my website too on SwapStyle, but no one knew what the hell it was, so no one used it. But it's really, really sad, and it's an end of an era. Of course, with an end of an era comes a new era, and I'm looking forward to the future. I'm looking forward to seeing what Jörg does next. But it was really a place for Bitcoiners to come together to worship at the throne of Satoshi, and to drink beer, to have great burgers, and to come together every month and talk about where we're going. And some of the biggest projects were developed there, were thought up there. Local Bitcoins was thought up at Room 77. Voltoro was definitely the seeds were also planted there. We had, God, the list goes on. The list goes on. Every big name has been there. Every time you see a picture in the news of a Bitcoin symbol, it's usually a photo of the Room 77 Bitcoin symbol. So it's really sad to see it shut down. But this is the nature of the COVID beast, plus other, economic reasons. But it's really sad.
Yes, it's sad to see Room 77 go. I was very lucky. I got to go there twice last year before all of this happened, back when we could still travel. And it was really nice. It was great to meet Jorg. I met him a couple of times at HCPP. Check out Mad Bitcoin's Twitter. I put up some pictures and a link to our interview right here on the World Crypto Network. We interviewed Jorg a few years ago at HCPP. So it was really cool to hear his story and get the background on how he started it and why he started it. Martin, do you have any thoughts on Room 77 before we go to your story?
I never visited because I haven't visited too often, but I met Jorg. I met him in Prague. He did a panel discussion, I believe 1 or 2 years, and it was really nice meeting him. And we had a good laugh about the Bitcoin ATMs at the time, because he said, I have those in my store. I ended up at the police station. So it was good. I think he is he was like one of the first to actually, see the value of Bitcoin and embrace it, and he had a brick and mortar store and wasn't afraid to just do it, and this, I think gave him so much street creds. In whatever he comes up with, I'll probably be a huge fan too. So that's it's sad to see that it closes its door. I think it's partly because of the Corona crisis and restaurants being shut. You can't make a revenue nowadays if you have to keep your doors shut. And we see it here in Amsterdam. All the restaurants are closed. All the bars are closed. But hope it recovers soon and that York is going to make a new startup. I'd like to see that. I'll promise if he does, I'll definitely be footing up helping the cash register to generate some revenue by going to visit and have a bunch of drinks. Yes.
Yeah, it was very cool. I always used to tell the story about Jorg because I'd read it in a newspaper or an online magazine or whatever. And it was always about this Bitcoin area in Kreuzberg, how Jorg had started taking Bitcoin and he talked to all of his neighbors and the florist shop and the bookseller and the newspaper guy and all these shops that used to exist. And he'd convinced them all to take Bitcoin. And at first they weren't so sure about it, but they kept an eye on the bar. And they said, well, the bar is taking it and nothing bad has happened to them. They pay for some drinks sometimes. They get some nerds in there. That's all right. And the entire street took it. And they had a little Bitcoin neighborhood there in Berlin. And it was one of the very first Bitcoin neighborhoods. And probably like the other ones, it wasn't used very often except for news stories. But that gave us a lot to work with in the early days, to have those news stories, to have something positive to talk about that wasn't the Silk Road, that was real world. You could buy a burger and a beer and it's all legal and he'd pay the taxes and everything's all legit. We didn't have any examples like that before Room 77 in Berlin. So it was a great thing to have.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Martin for story of the week. Martin, what have you been up to? Go ahead.
No sad story, but I've been using my spare time to. We a while back we launched this every trade accounting package, but now we got the feedback from people, and people were concerned. My data. I'm sending my data to a third party, so we launched a self-hosted version now, so people can install it on their own server. So that's what I've been doing in my spare time. Trying Linux and. A bit afraid, because of all the geeky stuff, but it was just 2 commands to get it running. So now I'm the proud owner of my own self-hosted every trade app, which is cool. It lives on the, I've got a tiny cheap as Celeron processor computer with a huge hard drive, which is my full node. Because, if you're into Bitcoin, I think you should run your own node. But most of the time, those nodes aren't too busy. It's just only once every 10 minutes that you have a spike in CPU usage. And for the rest, they're not too busy. So I thought, what? I'll use my node for something else too. So I installed the self-hosted every trade version. And it's pretty cool. I got all my trades on there now. And I know no third party is looking at my data. Actually, it doesn't even leave my local area network. So yeah, pretty excited about that. And we could follow the whole bull run thing this week on my own server. So, it's
fantastic. Great.
Yeah, I was so excited about it. Yeah, Josh, you have to add this Futuro too. I think, it would be cool. People can monitor their holdings. They can see their realized profits and
realized losses.
Okay, I'm not turning into a shameless shield.
No, it's really, really needed. The software is really, really needed. I think it's one of these things that a lot of, especially for shops are always scared with all the taxes and all that complexity that comes along. Software like that really allows you to easily see, what do I owe?
It's more like if you run a crypto company, it's difficult to calculate actual health of the company. And accounting is utterly boring. I mean, and nobody I know likes to do their books, They'd rather leave it all to the accountant. But the accountant is a bit shocked about this whole crypto thing because of the many transactions and little fees and lots of decimals behind the comma. So it's good to have that more or less automated. Just click a few buttons, get the reports out, give those to the accountants. Accountant is happy. Accountant happy, I'm happy. Yeah. So So but now it's self-hosted, which I think is cool, because then I know, the data is secure, and it's on my own local network. Actually, it doesn't. So that's
that's really cool, Martin. Nice.
It was just something we needed.
I think you did a great job listening to the customers and then giving what they wanted, because I could see how people would worry about that, and that's a good solution that you can take to little commands. Yeah, you have to type in some commands and stuff, but you can self-host it. You can solve the problem.
Just two strings, and you can copy paste them. So it's not really magician Linux stuff. You can copy paste them. So that's what I did. I'm not very good at administrating servers and stuff. So just copy pasting them, and then opening a browser, pointing to the IP address, and wow, there was a welcome page. Whoa.
There you go.
By the way, Martin, you could definitely start the Bitcoin religion with the HODL thing at the back there. You just need 2 more to put on the second from the top next to the second, and then you've got a HODL cross.
You mean there, like,
just
up there.
There you go.
Actually, they have a new model out. This is just 16 by 16 pixels, and I got a coupon. This company, Divum, which is Chinese company, they're crazy with their little inventions. They sent me a coupon for a new one, which launched like yesterday, and it's got 32 by 32 pixels. So I told them, what's next? Yeah, 1080 by 700 something. And said, oh, there will be lots of pixels. I said, yeah, that's my HD TV. I mean, what's the point? I like the 16 by 16 pixels.
Exactly.
You can connect them, and you can like tweak it. That's that's all my news for this week. I've been like, just looking at my screen and following the bull run.
What are yours?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to talk about politics all the time. It's about 10 days to the American election. I watched the debate last night. I won't say anything. And I watched the Borat movie today. I'll say how great the Borat movie was, especially Rudy Giuliani's part at the end. Really surprising, really strange scene. And especially if you're a dude, you can kind of see what Rudy was trying to do there. And super curious stuff happening out there. But I hope that everyone votes. If you're in America, if you're not in America, you can't vote. So you're just going to have to watch on TV with the rest of us. It's going to be really exciting right to the end. A lot of people don't trust the polls because they were allegedly wrong last time, but actually they were pretty close last time. It's just the margin of error on a couple of them slipped, and that's what margin of error is. A lot of people, well, it's they were so disappointed last time. They just don't trust the polling this time. But we'll have to see how it goes. It might be over quickly, or it could take a week or even a month. There might even be a coup. So exciting stuff in America. 200-year-old democracy experiment coming right up against it. We're going to see if it works. So, but that's about it for this show. You guys, anything else you have to add today? Excited about the PayPal. It's been a long time covering it. I really wanted to do this show today to talk about it. So I'm glad you guys were available short notice to do this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's a really interesting time for sure.
And everyone else, just hold on to your Bitcoins, and we'll see how this goes. I'm going to find the end button. There's so many of them.
Remember, like, subscribe, like it.
Yeah, like,
and
subscribe,
click the bell.
share.
Click the bell.
Yeah, click the bell for notifications.
Otherwise, you won't be notified. Yes.
Yeah, the bell for good karma.
That's right. And until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.